All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. But we're going to have a show.
And our holiday audience is here. Albert joins us
Albert,
today.
thank you.
It's very exciting.
They are kissing my ass.
It's such a wonderful Yuletide. I am wearing, as promised, the Mark Thompson Show barbecue apron. I guess it's a cooking apron. You don't have to be barbecuing with it, but here it is.
You could be making Coachella Valley coffee with your apron.
Yes, in fact, I do have the Coachella Valley coffee rocking it right here, baby, right now. Yeah. So good. I'm drinking the holiday blend, baby, and it is right on hot. It is otherworldly. Yeah, I'm telling you what.
Girl, you just woo.
I'll tell you what I'm most excited about today. David Katz joins us in hour two, the brilliant legal analyst. He is the envy of the English-speaking world when it comes to legal analysis. He'll join us in hour two. I'll break down a little bit of Trump's speech last night. Man, he was... he must have had some kind of economic incentive to get it under 18 minutes. He was really roaring there at the end. Yeah, I don't know. But there's a lot going on there. Put some Kahlua. Put some Kahlua in it. A little tequila, maybe. I just got back from Mexico. Down in Mexico. So in Mexico, I'll take this. I'll take this off. Let me just, Albert, Kim, say something. I would take this off. I got to go over here for a second to do it. Okay.
Gordon is doing what we hope. He's clicked the like button and he's posted the link to the show to his Facebook page. Can't ask for more than that, Gordon. Thank you so much.
Gordon,
What?
That's right, Gordon. Gordon is sharing the show, helping us out, and that is what we need to spread the Mark Thompson Show far and wide.
Thank you.
Spread it, baby. Spread it.
I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
That's right. Phineas wants you to put your limited edition sweater vest over your kitchen apron.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be quite the move. Maybe I'll do that. Just stack all the different merch items and I'll wear them all. I'm wearing my Project 1984.5 shirt, the Orwellian tip of the hat to the disinformation that Big Brother is laying on us. I love this T-shirt as well. There are a couple of different designs. Project 1984.5. You can see the T-shirt there is slightly different than the one I have, and you can grab it at getmarkmerch.com. All this stuff's at getmarkmerch.com if you want to jump on board. But I really think it's quite apropos. Oh, there's the long sleeve tee and sweatshirt. I love it.
Nice.
The limited edition long sleeve T-shirt, Project 1984.5. The reason I mentioned the Orwellian part is, we got an Orwellian dose. You got a heavy dose of it just last night when the President of the United States basically is telling you things are great. Happy days are here again. I mean, the hellscape and horror that was the Biden administration is over. And I'm here, Donald Trump. And in addition to renaming everything Trump and looting the Treasury, I love that he said that Biden and his cronies looted the Treasury when, of course, it's just the opposite. Trump is looting the Treasury.
Well, we know that everything he says he's actually doing, right?
There you go. I mean, that's the Orwellian part. Yeah.
That he makes, he is the perpetrator. Yeah.
It is projection. What does Beware say? Networks capped the interruption at about 18 to 22 minutes because they scheduled regular programming, notably CBS's Survivor finale, and had contractual advertising obligations, and those were fixed to the broadcast. I see. So that's why the president, Donald Trump, still can't believe that Donald Trump's president. Man, what a country we live in. I mean, really. I mean, don't you have those moments where you go, God damn.
What happened?
I just can't believe we have a country of such. I don't. I mean, I guess I've read books on this stuff. I've read articles on this. I've read chapters of books on it, how we got here. It's still extraordinary to me. I mean, were he just corrupt, but also competent in addressing some of the issues that ail Americans, the healthcare problem, the environmental issues. Instead, it's just the opposite. He's dismantling everything, and he's corrupt. And, you know, I get it. If you're new here or I can't believe there are any MAGA people passing through, but if you are, I get it. I'm Trump derangement syndrome. It's true. I don't see the positives maybe that you guys do. You know, he ran on the southern border, and the fact that the southern border was at best porous, it was a failing of the Biden administration, although it was a political talking point and often used as a political cudgel by both sides. Louis says the board, in quotes, just approved the renaming to the Trump Kennedy Center. Yeah, seriously, I was going to get to that story. Seriously, this dude is Sacha Baron Cohen's character from the movie The Dictator. That's exactly it. This is true. I was going to do it. You know, I know we're all over the place, and I'll get you into the speech last night. Also, big changes at the FBI. I've got the Epstein file drop and some new photographs, although I don't know what they really reveal, but I think that they are creepy. And I do have a couple of things to say as we get more and more Epstein information. I think it has to be contextualized in some way. So we'll get to all of that. As I mentioned, David Katz, an hour or two. How do you break down a speech that was so obviously broken, says Harry Magnan. Looking forward to another great show. Yeah. Albert, let me give the boys and girls a little something to chew on early on here. Let's do a chunk of Trump.
Open wide.
Ready?
Here comes your chunk of Trump.
It's my favorite food.
With your first bite, here's Mark Thompson.
I have a feeling it's going to be beautiful.
The board of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts has voted to rename this storied arts institution the Trump Kennedy Center.
What?
The Kennedy Center confirming the vote. The Board of Trustees, this is the quote, voted unanimously today to name the institution the Donald J. Trump and the John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for the Performing Arts. The unanimous vote recognizes that the current chairman saved the institution from financial ruin and physical destruction. The new Trump Kennedy Center reflects the unequivocal bipartisan support for America's cultural center for generations to come. And you wonder why I wear 1984.5. This is George Orwell's Big Brother forcing total fiction down the throats of Americans. You hear the unanimous vote recognizes that the current chairman saved the institution from financial ruin and physical destruction. It's total BS. This is BS on parade. The unequivocal bipartisan support. Again, more unequivocal BS. That's a rounding error compared to everything else that's going on. But the renaming of the Kennedy Center is complete. So there is that.
I would almost feel sorry for him because it just highlights how teeny tiny and fragile his ego must be.
He's a megalomaniac.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece of Trump news that was, where is my other piece of Trump news, Kim? What else? I was going to do something else that's also equally ridiculous, but I was just going to give it to the boys and girls in a chunk of Trump, and then we'll get into his speech. Oh, my God. What was it? Albert, do you recall what I was saying? I was going to hit, this is an outrage. Neither one of you?
I don't remember what you were going to say.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I don't know what I was going to say either. I can't remember anything. I'm in worse shape than Trump, maybe. That's your chunk of Trump.
Oh, wait, I got it.
What?
I got it. It's the
All right,
Barack Obama. It's Donald
Oh,
Trump
that
and
is,
Barack Obama.
yeah, he's healthier than
thank
Barack
you.
Obama.
Albert, thank
yeah.
you.
Albert,
Well
thank
done.
you. You get extra points today.
He's
Kim,
still
you will be
fresh-faced.
deficited points.
It's not my fault.
Yes.
I'm
The other
old
thing
now.
I wanted to tell you is that Donald Trump's doctor has told him, apparently, couldn't wait to share this, that he is healthier than Barack Obama.
What?
Yeah. Trump is saying that the former White House physician Ronnie Jackson, this is the guy who was involved in, handing out opioids like Halloween candy. I mean, that was the allegation. He said that he was by far the healthiest. Healthier than Obama. Healthier than Joe Biden. If you could put together a one-on-one basketball game between Donald Trump and Barack Obama, Trump would totally school him. The president claiming in a speech on Tuesday that Jackson was the doctor for all three presidents, including Biden, although Biden was vice president when Jackson was serving as Obama's White House doctor. And Trump insisted Jackson said that he was by far the healthiest. He went on to say, I love him. If he didn't say that, I would never have talked to him again. Ronnie Jackson, what a great legend. No response from the Obama.
I guess the doctor had to say that then, right?
Yeah, at least Trump had kind of a sense of humor about it, but he parades it around like it's fact, and we know it's not. Please. Then he, waddled over to, the red button that brings him Coca-Cola and a Big Mac, and that's where we were. It's just, again, that's the kind of stuff that would be quaint lunacy were it not for the fact that he's doing real damage to this country. And, I mean, he, in all his remarks, show no sense of a third eye looking in. In his despicable, disparaging remarks of Rob Reiner, you see how completely base and despicable, as I say, he is. But were it just that he was this coarse frat brother who is kind of along the lines of a Pete Hegseth, and an incompetent and ill-informed, it would be one thing. This would be, again, grandpa just prattling on. But the real damage done, the dismantling of critical American institutions, everything from USAID to the EPA, these ridiculous tariffs that he has imposed. I mean, all of this is real damage. The damage to the American justice system, the crusade he's on to hunt down and bring upon any of his critics the full weight of the U.S. government, what he's doing to Mark Kelly, for example. I mean, these are all things that are real. So it's not just, our fat uncle sitting in the corner. He's a jillionaire and he's just tweeting and prattling on about how he's in better shape or a more powerful man than anyone else and renaming stuff after himself. He is a truly dangerous figure in American history. That's your chunk of Trump.
That's it for this edition.
Well, I really enjoyed it.
But make sure to join us again next time
I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening.
for another chunk of Trump.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I want to, again, thank you, Albert, for remembering what I cannot remember, which was the Obama thing. Yeah. So, I want to also recognize right out of the chute, since we are a crowd-funded show, the crowd that funds. Happy birthday to all of you December folks, says Jane Orama, a $20 super chat. And I am a December birthday.
Big shout out.
My birthday is next week.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
When is Christmas, Albert? Is it, what day of the week?
Thursday.
Thursday? Okay. So I'm Friday, the day after Christmas. And a very merry unbirthday to all, says Jane O'Rama as well.
Big shout out.
Yeah. I know a lot of people have December birthdays, too. When is your birthday, Kim?
June.
And you, June is such a good month to have a birthday. Gosh, you're lucky. How about you, Albert?
I have a better one. August.
Both summer birthdays are the best. Yeah, just the best. You can get all the kids in. No, everybody's around. It's great. Nobody's around for my birthday. No one.
They're celebrating someone else's birthday the day before.
Exactly. Bumped out by baby Jesus again. That explains my irritated attitude. So this from Luis. So is he going to the grift of selling passes at several $1 million, granting you access to both the Trump Center and the new ballroom? Kid Rock and WWF for all. That's right. You can take in a Kid Rock concert at the Kennedy Center and then head over to the WWE or cage match that he's going to be organizing on the White House lawn. The ballroom, did you see now? They're looking, I think Kim had this story yesterday, at an even bigger price tag to complete the ballroom.
Now 400 million. Yeah.
It started at 200. It's like every construction project anyone has ever been part of. Mr. Thompson, can you come over here for a second? Yeah, what's the problem? We're going to have to redig this whole thing, I don't know who put this in initially, but there are electrical lines. They've all been compromised. Oh, gosh, that's no good. What do you think? Yeah, I'm afraid that's going to be added another 30% onto that's what you're used to hearing, right? But Trump doesn't bother with it. Since this is all grift anyway, he just this is truly grift. So you're seeing two things as you look at that picture of the East Wing demolished. You're seeing the lawless demolishing of the East Wing of the White House, really done without any prior approval. And you're seeing the very problematic, privately funded, supposedly, ballroom construction, so problematic, so massive, that the architect who was associated with that blueprint and with executing this, he left the project. Trump is getting a new architect. One of the things that we're hearing out of the world of the architects associated with the ballroom is that the ballroom is so massive in size that it will eclipse the White House. And so the architect associated with the initial plan didn't like that, felt it was inconsistent with the overall profile of the residence and the institution of the White House. Trump now has sought out a different architect, and along the way keeps bumping the numbers up $50 million at a time. So now, as Kim says, it's $400 million. This is insane. What are you building this thing out of? Cocaine bricks? It's absurd. I mean, this is clearly grift. There is more going on here than the building of this structure.
He also called it a matter of national security, this ballroom. And I can't quite understand why a ballroom equals national security.
It's supposedly built over a kind of bunker type thing, is what I was reading, at least in a couple of published reports. But that doesn't speak to the size of this thing and doesn't speak to, I mean, everything's national security to these guys. Everything's national security. You know, the thuggery associated with their ICE agents that are dropped in American cities, that's national security, right? These people are a threat to the nation. The declared fight against fentanyl and cocaine or whatever, that's national security. I mean, it depends how you define national security. I mean, you could legitimately, I'm sure, defend these things as, you know, I need a ballroom that is, there's a picture of it, I need a ballroom that is sufficiently sized to handle all of these huge events that occur at the White House, and I have to secure my guests, and therefore it's national security or whatever, because it's going to be dignitaries of all sorts from around the world. I mean, you could say this, Calvin, shadow producer of this show, Calvin Wong says, then destroying the East Wing in the first place violated national security. It certainly violated law. I mean, it violated existing law. We can ask, will you remind me, please, to ask Katz about that? It's kind of, again.
I'll make a note of it.
It's a footnote compared to everything else going on, but it's worth noting. So, look, the scope of this thing is so immense that there's no way they'll get this finished by the end of his term, and it'll be interesting and sad to see this thing sort of modified. I don't know if the Democrats will ever regain power. I mean, there's I think an active, aggressive, soft coup that's gone on, but to the extent that there is a possibility that the Democrats can reascend to power in the executive branch and beyond. I mean, certainly it looks as though the midterms will likely favor them. I wonder what will happen to all of these things, these various projects. Is Trump going to start his arc? He wants something like the Arc de Triomphe. He wants that in Washington as well.
Yeah.
I mean, again, who's going to stop him? No one's stopped him yet. I mean, this is really insane when you think about the fact that he has demolished part of the White House. Are you kidding me? You just demolish it without any, I mean, again, he games the system. I get what happened at the Kennedy Center. He stocked the Kennedy Center with a bunch of people who are his functionaries. They then, as the Kennedy Center board, vote that their chairman is the greatest chairman in the history of the Kennedy Center and save the world and the Kennedy Center. And for that reason, we're putting his name on it. I get it. It's tacky. It's awful. It's truly North Korea type dictator renaming, but I get it. But the demolishing of the White House? I mean, that's not renaming or putting, gold font everywhere that says patio this way or Oval Office that way or Hall of Presidents or bronze plaques that are basically regurgitated tweets or Truth Social posts that Donald Trump has made about Biden and Obama, etc. This is the demolishing of the White House. Anyway, I'm just saying, as winter sets in on Washington, you're not going to get any construction done anyway. I just look at that big mess that's there at the White House, and I look at it alongside the Kennedy Center renaming, and I look at it alongside the ballroom bill, which continues to become bloated, and I just think, all right. I mean, this is a country that's just lost its mind.
At least with the plaques and the slapping of his building name on the Peace Center and the International Center for Peace and the Kennedy Center, at least you could fix that, when he's out of office. That's easy to rectify. The ripping down of a White House building, that's a permanent damage. You can't really fix that.
I think that's a reasonable distinction. You're right.
You can't fix that. No.
Yeah. No, that's a reasonable distinction to make.
And what happened to all the people that worked in the East Wing? They're not going to rebuild the East Wing, right? They're just going to use that land to enlarge the footprint of this new ballroom.
It certainly looks like that.
We don't even get to have a rebuilt East Wing. We just get a ballroom. That's it.
I don't even know if it's going to be a ballroom when all is said and done. I'm telling you, this guy is all show and no go. I mean, we know that they repaved the Rose Garden and turned it into an Olive Garden. But I really don't know beyond that what's happening. I did want to address what happened last night, which was an 18 to 20 minute run through the biggest set of lies and of sort of warmed over campaign talking points that we've seen in some time. And so without any further delay, let's do that. The speech was like the call with President Zelensky was perfect. Yeah, there has never been anything like it, says Jim Shields. Yeah, it was, yeah, and somebody said 18 minutes of Trump yelling at us. Yeah, it was weird because, thank you, Randy. I think that the tone of the Trump speech was odd because he seemed defiant, emphatic. He was yelling. He
Why are you yelling?
Yeah, where was our drop when we needed?
Why are you yelling?
Exactly. And you could say his speech was full-blown dementia, as Calvin Wong has said. I would say, he's reading off prompters, so whatever dementia went into the speech or delusion might be the kinder way to put it. It was endorsed, if you will, by those who entered that into the prompter, his people around him who clearly felt as though affordability is an issue that he should address, what Americans were thinking about. You know this based on polling associated with the economy. He addressed last night in these remarks, but the way he addressed it was to completely lie about what's going on. And he did it right out of the chute. And here is a little bit, give me the beginning of things, Albert, and then we'll go from there, if you would, please.
Good evening, America. 11 months ago, I inherited a mess, and I'm fixing it. When I took office, inflation was the worst in 48 years, and some would say in the history of our country, which caused prices to be higher than ever before, making life unaffordable for millions and millions of Americans. This happened during a Democrat administration, and it's when we first began hearing the word affordability. Our border was open, and because of this, our country was being invaded by an army of 25 million people, many who came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. They were drug
Let's just stop here for a second. I mean, all of that is a lie. All of that is BS. So right out of the chute, he's ringing the BS bell, right? The worst inflation in 48 years, just not true. He inherited the best economy in the world. Now, that wasn't a perfect economy, and it is true that affordability continued to be something that Americans were struggling with. That's one of the reasons that his campaign did so well in beating that drum. But the worst inflation in 48 years is just not true. The other statistic he had is that 25 million people came across. That's just not true either. I mean, look it up. I think the numbers might be closer to, in all of the undocumented residents of the United States, if you want to think of it that way, I think it's 13 million. So I see in Trump right now two things. One is his stock and trade, which is total BS. He's just going to tell you stuff, and he's going to tell it to you over and over and over again. And some people will believe it. They've heard it a lot. It's repeated on Fox News Channel, and the echo chamber just is effective. And the other thing is that anything bad isn't my fault. I inherited it from Joe Biden. Those Democrats, just awful. He's 11 months in. Dude, take some ownership over something. I mean, later in his speech, he talks about the price of turkeys going down at Thanksgiving. And of course, that was owing to what? To the elimination of bird flu as a problem. The bird flu epidemic forced the culling of so many turkeys that the price of turkeys rose under Biden. I'm not trying to justify. These are the real facts. So right out of the chute, it was full-on BS cranked up to 10. Continue, Albert, please.
And even 11,888 murders, more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. This is what the Biden administration allowed to happen to our country, and it can never be allowed to happen again. We had men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody, crime at record levels with law enforcement, and words such as that just absolutely forbidden. We had the worst trade deals.
He's struggling a little bit with the prompter, but he's playing the hits with, let me mention the trans community. Let me mention boys playing in girls' sports. I mean, these are sort of let me remind you of the cultural wedge issues that brought us here. Go ahead, Albert.
But they're not laughing anymore. Over the past 11 months, we have brought more positive change to Washington than any administration in American history. There's never been anything like it, and I think most would agree. I was elected in a landslide, winning the popular vote and all 7 swing states and everything else, with a mandate to take on a sick and corrupt system that really just took the wealth from people and crushed the dreams of the American people. For the last 4 years, the United States was ruled by politicians who fought only for insiders. illegal aliens, career criminals, corporate lobbyists, prisoners, terrorists, and above all, foreign nations, which took advantage of us at levels never seen before.
You can stop
They
right there because
flooded your
this, to me,
cities
was one of the more nauseating little runs. Everything he just described that he ascribed to the Biden administration, that deals were being made with the moneyed elite and foreign nations leaving Americans out. That's exactly what's happening under the Trump administration. He set up a system of patronage with his tariffs so that all of these foreign nations have to come to him and make a deal and offer him all the things we talk about on this show all the time. You know, green-lighting the resort in Vietnam and green-lighting the resorts in the Middle East. These are all in exchange for monies that are coming into the Trump people. Tariff relief in return for business for me, Donald Trump, not for America. So what he's talking about, the cronyism, the pay to play, that's exactly what defines his administration. If I were to say the defining feature of the Trump administration is fill in the blank, I would say it's corruption. It is truly a defining feature, and yet he lays it all out there as though he's rescuing you from corruption. Again, I turn you to George Orwell. I turn you to Big Brother, telling you they were corrupt. Now, finally, we've walked into the land of the righteous, the land of the honest. Go ahead, Albert.
Towns with illegal aliens. They decimated your hard-earned savings. They indoctrinated your children with hate for America. They just released a level of violent felons that we had never seen to prey on innocent. They caused war. They caused mayhem. They caused a horrible situation all over the globe. But now you have a president who fights for the law-abiding, hardworking people of our country.
Stop right here again. This on crime. As you know, crime peaked in the late 80s and early 90s. And violent crime, murder rates. And certainly there have been fluctuations since then. But as you're aware, because it's particularly relevant to them sending in troops to somehow make different communities safe, so all of a sudden, crime statistics are something that we've now focused on. And rampant crime and crime statistics are all far better. We're looking at some of the best crime statistics in history. So the idea that, record crime exists because of immigrants, it's utterly absurd. Utterly absurd. So again, his narrative is one we're familiar with, but it is detached from any reality. Go ahead, Albert.
Who make this nation work. And after just 1 year, we have achieved more than anyone could have imagined. Starting on day one, I took immediate action to stop the invasion of our southern border. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been allowed into our country, a feat which everyone said was absolutely impossible. Do you remember when Joe Biden said that he needed Congress to pass legislation to help close the border? He was always blaming Congress and everyone else. As it turned out, we didn't need legislation. We just needed a new president.
Well,
we inherited the
now,
worst border
the southern
anywhere
border issue was real, and the southern border sealing is something that happened under the Trump administration. So I like to, call balls and strikes. But the idea somehow that the the flow of illegal immigrants is in any way associated with violent crime that you're now getting rid of, the deportation of so many of these violent offenders, the criminal elements associated with immigration, that's a complete fiction, as we know. The majority of those detained, of those arrested, of those thrown down to the pavement at a car wash, at those who are taken as they show up for their legal adjudication of their immigration status, taken at courthouses, those people are overwhelming, not just by some close percentage, overwhelming those without criminal records. So that deportation is a myth. And he keeps pushing that myth in speech after speech, including last night. Just give me the stuff on affordability related to pharmaceuticals, will you, Albert? Because this was the absurdity of Trump last night. In addition to everything I just mentioned, I mean, there is, again, the anything bad is stuff that I got from Biden and I'm handling it, and anything good is completely concocted and made up. And one of the things he concocted and made up was related to pharmaceutical prices. And you know we pay more for pharmaceuticals in America than any other country on earth. Go ahead.
I'm doing what no politician of either party has ever done, standing up to the special interest to dramatically reduce the price of prescription drugs. I negotiated directly with the drug companies and foreign nations, which were taking advantage of our country for many decades, to slash prices on drugs and pharmaceuticals by as much as 400, 500, and even 600%. In other words, your drug costs will be plummeting downward. And I used the threat of tariffs to get foreign countries who would never have done it to pay the cost of this giant dollar reduction.
Stop right there. It's not foreign countries that are causing the giant dollar price tag that you refer to, Mr. President. As you know, these are American companies, and America is a place that has tolerated the kind of escalation in drug prices. The other point is a simple one, and there's a certain manifest absurdity to him saying 200%, 300%, 400, 500, 600%. I mean, he just blows out this world of fantasy with these ridiculous statements like you're going to get play that again. What is it? 600% reduction on pharmaceutical costs. You're going to get a 600% reduction.
Is that possible?
What is 100% reduction? It's free.
Free. Yeah.
200% is you're going to pay me whatever I had to pay. 300% you're going to pay me 3 times whatever. 400 is 4 times. I can't wait to get the call from the pharmacy where they're going to be paying me 6 times what I would have been paying them. It's absurd. But how the F does this guy get away with this level of BS?
Maybe he thinks if he gives us all $2,000, that accounts to a 600% drop.
This is the other thing.
I don't know.
His solution to this, as he points to the problems with the Affordable Care Act, is let me give the money directly to you. And then you can pay the people that Donald Trump, identify. And by the way, he's right in identifying this as the true villains in all of this. And those are the insurance companies. The insurance companies are middlemen in a system that is horribly broken. And those middlemen cost us Americans tremendous amounts of money. That's why the ACA had this marketplace where you could look for the best deal, but you're looking for the best deal among thieves. The insurance company world is one inhabited by thieves. They're all legal thieves. So our system is set up so that these thieves can take money from all of us on a monthly basis so that when we run up against healthcare costs, they're there for us, or in situations that we run across often, they'll explain why they don't cover whatever it is that you need covered. Now, the other virtue of the Affordable Care Act, and this is super relevant today because they're going to let all the subsidies expire, is that pre-existing conditions have to be covered by these thieves, the insurance companies. And the insurance companies have always gotten away with that loophole to get out of covering you. We wish we could help, but you had that cancer before. We wish you help, but you had that problem with your cervical spine prior to this. Let's look at other historical data when it comes to your medical record, and you can see this is a pre-existing condition. That was the hook on which they hung so much of the rejection when it came to covering medical costs. ACA forces them to pay for that. It was huge. It saved lives. Again, the problem with ACA was the insurance company grab. It's a money grab, but you couldn't get out of the insurance company political lobby. That's why it's there. I know you hear a lot about AIPAC, and you hear a lot about the defense contractors and all of these different lobbies in Washington. The insurance company lobby, the health insurance company lobby, is bigger than all of them, and you're not going to get around that. And so Obama made the best of it that he could. And I'm not an apologist for Obama, but I'm saying really the only deal he could make was one where the insurance companies were part of it. That's the flaw, if you will. The original sin with American healthcare is that the insurance companies are part of it. But now that's all going to, a lot of this will expire, right? The ACA benefits are going to expire. They're going to allow them to expire. But anyway, on this issue of pharmaceutical prices, he is spinning a pipe dream of bullshit. And yet, I assume a bunch of Americans are going to swallow it. But after the first of the year, the healthcare premiums and benefits are going to change radically, and it's going to be withering for many Americans. And the last thing I'll say about this is related to the Democrats. The Democrats, to reopen the government, as you know, accepted and again, this again falls into the category of BS, the BS promise by the Republicans that they would take up the question of ACA funding and supplements. They would take that up before the end of the year. Remember? We'll promise, just reopen the government. We will discuss. You heard it from J.D. Vance. You heard it from Mike Johnson. Well, what's happened? Kim can tell you. What is Mike Johnson doing on ACA?
Nothing, Mark.
Is he bringing that vote? No, he won't even bring that vote. So that's the Democrats once again falling for or being party to what they knew was BS. And so the government reopened. Republicans are on a glide path to getting rid of those ACA subsidies, and that's what the Mad King, Donald Trump, wants because it's associated with Obama. I found the entire thing to be so absurd. His style seemed forced, tortured. There was a lot of screaming. Now, screaming might overstate it, but it did seem like he was yelling. And the one positive, and it's a huge positive, I was fully expecting that he was going to announce we're at war with Venezuela. I was fully expecting it. So you're going to go on for a primetime address, and I didn't see why you would do it, apart from wanting to make this announcement that we're at war with Venezuela. Instead, he paraded around again the utter BS of having ended 8 wars. So he didn't mention Venezuela, yet we all know that a lot of what's going on is happening against that backdrop. The same is true in Ukraine. So I felt like that was a positive. I mean, at least the Mad King hasn't begun this ridiculous effort in Venezuela. But apart from that, I thought what you saw was a president who is embattled, a president who knows that his poll numbers are lagging. He is losing on the economy. The things that brought him to office, faith in Trump to somehow rescue an American economy that honestly didn't need a lot of rescuing. If you had just not touched anything, remember we said this, I said this to David K. Johnson. I said, David, if I were Trump, I would go out there on the stump, I'd make all this stuff, talk about how bad Democrats are, but I wouldn't touch anything on the economy. You are actually on economic high ground now. And instead, he comes out with the tariffs. He is messing with the economy every which way. The tariffs led to embargoes, for American farmers from the Chinese and beyond. Now you're scrambling to try to get things back together. Now you're having to issue subsidy checks to American farmers and to other sectors of the economy that have been hard hit by these ridiculous tariffs. Trump personally has benefited. He's made billions from the presidency, even in the first year, most of it through crypto. The Witkoffs have benefited. You know, his golfing buddy, who is a real estate billionaire, he's the guy who's handling the Middle East negotiations and the Ukraine negotiations, and his son runs Liberty Financial with the Trump brothers. They've all benefited. But the American people are sucking it, man. And you can go on and shovel BS as much as you want, but the realities of life in America becoming more dangerous, becoming more expensive, this is all the reality. And Americans are waking up to that. And again, it's probably too late on some level. There is more damage that these guys are going to do. But Donald Trump last night, I think, reflected a guy who realized, wow, I'm in trouble. I need to go out there and talk to the people, and I need to play the hits. I need to play the hits that brought me here. The only problem is now we hear those hits, and I think even some of his base are not up for it anymore. Now, some of his base don't care. Some of his base would rather, I'll starve rather than say anything disparaging about Donald Trump. I mean, that's sort of the level of devotion and cultism that has taken hold. But the reality is that many, many independent voters see that he is a wrecking ball to the economy. His brutal thuggery when it comes to arresting and detaining and deporting these people, these sweet souls who come here and in large measure are good citizens of this country. They're not down for that. In fact, it doesn't poll well. Katie Lynn says, unfortunately, our fellow American voters seem to believe this BS or he wouldn't have been reelected. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's true. I think that there is a big enough number of people who you can blow sunshine up their butt and they believe it. I mean, I'm sorry. It is true. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of that was, I mean, and this is inexplicable, Latino voters, minority voters, independent voters, those votes for Trump, I don't get. But because to me, it's the clunkiest con imaginable. My God. But this is where we are, you know.
I wonder if this kind of pseudo State of the Union thing that he tried to pull last night was an effort to get attention on himself and away from the Epstein pictures that were coming out and the possible release of more information regarding Epstein files on Friday.
Yeah, the Epstein deadline is tomorrow, and there was another tranche of Epstein stuff that's come out, and I think you're right. There are a couple of things going on related to Epstein. The new photos from the Jeffrey Epstein estate have been released. There's a close-up in all of these photos. You can put, we debated this. This super gives me the creeps to see this Epstein stuff. Not because there's no sexual stuff here, but I know that there was an understanding here that we know it's implied here, and it's gross. We're showing pictures of it's a girl's foot or a woman's foot, and there's writing on it, and the writing is she was Lola in slacks. She was Polly at school. And again, Lola is Lolita, I guess. Isn't that what that? And there's a Lolita book behind the foot of this girl who, again, and you only see the foot, has written this on her body. It is really, it's sad, it's sad. A lot of these women were trafficked from Russia and Ukraine. We know that because of the money trail, and we know this also because of texts. The texts that were released in this latest dumping of Epstein information, they reflect references to the fact that she comes from Russia.
It's not pornographic. The pictures that were released today aren't pornographic, I would say, but they do show a penchant for using the female body for your own amusement. And it's icky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely right. Yeah.
I had never read the book, Lolita.
It's completely predatory. It's
Yeah.
completely predatory. Here it is. I don't know. Try to send someone else. I have a friend, Scout. She sent me some girls today, but she asks $1,000 per girl. I will send you girls now. Maybe someone will be good for Jay. And then the name is redacted, 18 years old, and then that other information is redacted, height and measurements redacted, but the departure city, Russia. And the Schengen, it refers, I guess, to the fact that she's able to travel maybe through the Schengen countries, but there's the reality on what was going on. It's an international human trafficking network. We know this, right. But you still see in this creepy, disgusting way the way these women were trafficked and what was really going on. The only other thing I would say, and this is kind of the context I wanted to provide, and again, I try to be fair on these things, is there are a bunch of pictures of people talking to Jeffrey Epstein, people on the plane that he has talking to Jeffrey Epstein, people on the manifest, the flight manifest. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Again, you see this picture of, there's a picture up right now of Bill Gates. For this, I'm telling you, for those who are just listening and not watching, we're on Spotify and these other places too, iHeartRadio. Bill Gates standing next to a picture of next to this girl. You don't know. You can't see her face. Not that's important. She has her arms crossed. It doesn't look like they're in any kind of amorous sort of pose. And he's smiling. It's a damning picture. And the notion that Bill Gates was in that orbit is damning. But again, I don't read too much into that or the picture to the right of that, which is Noam Chomsky talking to Jeffrey Epstein on Epstein's plane. I just don't believe that Noam Chomsky, or certainly based on this picture, I don't believe that Noam Chomsky was somehow someone who was in Epstein's orbit from the standpoint of being a sexual predator. So all I'm trying to say is taking a picture with Jeffrey Epstein, or even pictures alongside some of Jeffrey Epstein's girls, to call him that, which gives me the creeps to even say, in itself isn't enough to tag someone as a sexual predator. Now, if there's supporting information and data in the files that's not related just to a photograph like this, but to other evidence, then I would say, yeah, then, hey man, I can't rationalize this any further. But right now, this stuff, I think it's an easy smear. And so I'm just saying we have to be a little bit careful, because you can, I think, get into some pretty dangerous territory when it comes to evaluating what those pictures actually say. This guy was a power broker. The critical piece we don't know is who did what and who knew what and when, says Be Aware. Release the files and answer the questions. Yeah. Sports had said Bill Gates had an affair with a Russian girl from Epstein in 2010. So, if that's demonstrably the case, then yeah, then he deserves to be. Now, again, having an affair with an Epstein girl, if the girl was trafficked to him or whatever that, if that's what that means, when you say that, I'd love to see more details. But then, there might be a legitimacy in what you say. The Bill Gates photo with her leaning up against his shoulder is a bit troublesome to me, says Wes Warm. It's funny. I see her with her arms crossed, not leaning into him. But I guess you get whatever you want from that picture.
It's a very tense pose.
I did not see a warmth between the two of them. In fact, I saw more of a forced warmth, as it turns out, between, who was the prince? Andrew? Mm-hmm. Who was with that, in that photo that by now you've all seen with Ghislaine Maxwell, et cetera. I saw more of that forced warmth. Mm-hmm. But, and this I think is true. Lamakumeka says the drip, drip, drip of photos and text begins tomorrow when the redacted files are released. Yeah. She was 20 at the time, apparently, on the Bill Gates thing. Thank you for that. I mean, again, these are, we're getting bits and pieces. Guilt by association is a criminal offense. Ask any mob guy. Okay. All right.
Sal the shoemaker will tell you.
Yeah.
Where's Joe Box?
Sal the shoemaker, Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
Yeah, those guys know. Guilt by association. The story on the Epstein files is they're coming. They're coming tomorrow. So, again, I'll just quickly button out the Trump stuff by telling you that the approval for Trump's handling on the economy is at an abysmal new low, 36%. Just 36% of Americans approving of the job that he is doing on the economy. This is a new PBS NPR Marist poll. PBS, I thought I defunded them. Trump's tariffs are among the policies that have prompted pushback. People across the country face higher grocery, energy prices. I mean, he, as you know, was spinning more BS last night in relation to those costs. But the other part of the polling is related to military action in Venezuela. They, in polling, overwhelmingly seem to suggest, this is Quinnipiac poll, that Americans are against military action against Caracas. Just 25% of Americans express support. So this is an odd thing that Trump has done. He's so, on some level, sensitive to polling. That's why he came out with that speech last night. He knew he had to address this question of affordability, even as he mocks the use of the word affordability. His people clearly felt he needs to say something. And as he did, even though it was a fiction, it was, a complete fiction. He was trying to make an attempt to stop the bleeding a little bit from the standpoint of what Americans were feeling and how Americans were blaming Trump and his administration. Now, on Venezuela, when you only have 25%, 1 in 4 supporting a military action against Caracas, in other words, you can't even sell this stuff. The blowing up of the boats isn't even popular. So the notion that you're going to go in any kind of more aggressive way, that is just something that is not popular. And so for that reason, I'm really surprised that he continues to warmonger around this.
They killed another 4 people yesterday, blew up another boat.
It's, I don't know if this is an indulgence of Pete Hegseth, who clearly, wants to show off his military. They've had an admiral resign because the admiral wasn't comfortable with this. The stuff going on at the Pentagon is pretty gross, start to finish. You had an admiral resign, as I say, as a result of this policy, it would seem. You have Hegseth calling in this world of admirals and generals and telling them to do push-ups and basically parading around the stage with like some kind of drunk frat boy. And you're sort of forcing the crowd to salute. You have the purging of the Pentagon of any journalist who won't sign that pledge. And you have a warmongering now that is all associated with the word lethality. We want everybody to recognize this is a lethal fighting force. The whole notion of, walk softly and carry a big stick, that's gone. These guys are, I'd suggest, they're all about the flex. But more to the point, the flex isn't popular. So I wonder at what point Trump will let go of it. But to the extent that it is a distraction from the Epstein files, yeah, maybe it's effective. So that's a little of what's happening. Kim has a more complete around the horn kind of way to look at what's happening.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'll ask you to smash the like button if you would. Do that. It helps us.
Smash
it's a weird thing.
With your
I know.
iron rod.
In the world of YouTube, it helps us if you smash the like. But also, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I know every show asks you to do this, and I know why, because it's sort of important. So thank you. But in our case, you can secure happiness for yourself and your family if you hit the subscribe button and the notification.
What?
I'm telling you, try it and tell me if it doesn't indeed happen. This was an email I got, am very excited to get emails.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
The email address is themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com. And this came to me from, who did it come from, Kim?
Mr. Hill, I believe.
Mr. Hill.
Russ Hill.
Russ Hill, everybody. I'm wading through all the positive email to find.
Made its debut in Cabo San Lucas last week. He says, it got more attention than I thought I would. I met a couple of other Mark Thompson Show listeners while we were there.
What?
Until I purchased my Panama hat, that is. That's from Russ in San Jose, California.
Wow, that is terrific.
I mean,
willing
imagine.
to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
That's what you hope, is that you meet another Mark Thompson Show listener while you're wearing your gear, right?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
He is Uncle Russ also. Russ Hill is. And in the chat now, he's even other things. But he is originally Uncle Russ, and Russ Hill's congratulations on making a new outpost visible to us there. The Mark Thompson Show hat, which is now seen the world, along with the beanie, is available to you. And you can get it at getmarkmerch.com. Thank you for that. Also, I got this from Robert Brown.
I've received a lot of positive letters.
Mark, it really was like 1984's Newspeak. This is what I'm talking about when I get this Project 1984.5, this T-shirt I feel is like right on. Again, at getmarkmerch.com. It was all mindless rhetoric with no proof for any of his claims. I know you can't cover each line item, but I would love to hear some of his points subjected to intelligent rebuttal.
That was very inappropriate.
Yeah. And we'll bring it up, he says, tomorrow. Yeah, will you remind me, Kim? We'll bring it up to the Friday boys.
Sure.
Yeah. So, of course, it's... I think we ran down a couple of things, but we'll run down more tomorrow. So, yeah. All right, let's get a quick check of news from Kim up to the moment. Our newsroom, the Mark Thompson Show newsroom, has been buzzing. And we'll get that. And then the brilliant David Katz joins. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. President Trump is easing marijuana restrictions. We knew it was coming, and now he has signed an executive order switching marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 substance, reclassifying it as less dangerous. Trump saying the reclassification will not legalize it on a federal level, nor make it a drug approved for recreational use.
But this is something that the Democrats should have done. I made this point yesterday, and I'll make it again, and I'll probably make it again and again. If you say you're going to legalize marijuana, if you say it on the campaign stump, you ought to do it. And Trump, as usual, does it without doing it, or, now he can take a victory lap around marijuana, or it's an implied victory lap. It's a good look for him. It really is. I mean, I try to, again, be fair about what's happening. Why the hell didn't the Democrats do something on marijuana, especially after you said you were going to do something? So Trump gets the credit for actually doing something. Again, not enough, but doing something.
Why are you yelling?
Where are weed smokers at?
Yeah, exactly.
The Democratic National Committee is deciding not to release its analysis on the 2024 election losses. DNC Chair Ken Martin issuing a statement to The Hill explaining the organization's North Star is, does this help us win? And he noted that if the answer is no, it's a distraction from the core mission. Martin's update marks a change in stance that he promised earlier this year to release the findings from that review. According to a DNC official, the post-election analysis was based on hundreds of interviews in all 50 states, and it included insights into the party's organizing, fundraising, and more.
That probably is a smart move on their part. I mean, I'm sure they don't want to go over the ashes of the last election anymore, or at least not publicly.
Jada had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, Jada had nothing to do with it. We know that. Okay.
As Mark has been mentioning,
unbelievably offensive.
Okay. All right.
more photos from Jeffrey Epstein's estate have been released by House Democrats. 5 pictures in total released, including one of a Ukrainian passport, another of philosopher Noam Chomsky on a plane with the convicted sex offender. As Mark says, the photo alone doesn't insinuate guilt, right? Another shows Bill Gates posing with a woman whose face is redacted. Another includes screenshots of a text exchange that discusses sending girls to someone. And then the last photos show a woman's foot with a quote written on it from Lolita. That's a novel about a man's sexual attraction to a 12-year-old girl. It all comes ahead of the deadline of Friday for the Justice Department to make files related to Epstein public. Police say the Brown University shooting suspect could be anywhere in a manhunt that stretches now into its 6th day. Yesterday, Providence police asked for the public's help to identify a person who may have made contact with the suspect. 2 people killed in that shooting, 9 others injured. The mayor of Providence says residents are feeling restless and eager with no arrests made yet.
I don't know why Kash Patel can't fly in on that plane and just sort of find this guy and let's move on. Where's Kash Patel, the superhero, the guy who, didn't he slay the dragon for the king, Albert? Isn't that his, wasn't his, yeah. I mean, he had in the book, Kash Patel comes in and saves the day. And he saved the day on Charlie Kirk, and he saved the day on a bunch of other, he's day saving. He's a big day saver, but he can't save this day.
He only flies in to take credit after the work has been done. See, there's nothing to take credit for yet, so we'll wait for...
Maybe he couldn't get a blue jacket.
No.
Yeah.
President Trump will sign a defense bill today, right before attending 2 Christmas receptions at the White House. The $901 billion National Defense Authorization Act, which passed the Senate on Wednesday, greenlights a record in military spending for fiscal 2026, roughly $8 billion more than Trump had requested. Crews in North Carolina are on the scene of a crash involving a private jet owned by a NASCAR driver. Reportedly, several people are dead in this crash. Public records show the plane is owned by retired driver Greg Biffle. The plane crashed and burst into flames when it landed at the Statesville Regional Airport just after 10 this morning local time. That's about 50 miles away from Charlotte, North Carolina. A Kremlin envoy is expected to meet U.S. officials in Miami this weekend for discussions on ending the war in Ukraine. According to multiple reports, this comes after the Trump administration said Ukraine and European partners were at 90% consensus. U.S. officials once again optimistic that Russia would agree to the terms, which offer security guarantees to Ukraine comparable to NATO's Article 5 Mutual Defense Treaty. So this will be interesting. It's all going down in Miami this weekend. Wow. Trump Media and Technology Group is announcing a merger agreement with fusion power company TAE Technologies. It's an all-stock deal valued at more than $6 billion, expected to close mid-2026. According to the news release that has been put out, the merger would create one of the world's first publicly traded fusion companies. There are currently no commercial plants producing electricity using this technology. The merger would also result in shareholders of each firm owning approximately half of the combined company.
This is sort of interesting. And I mean, as in the chase of electricity and energy, this is sort of the real frontier, the idea of fusion reactors. But what you're saying, Kim, is that, again, there have been no technological breakthroughs. No. This is sort of a business investment coalition that's going on.
Right. It's a future technology.
Yeah, I mean, but they've been talking about it for a long time. It would be the truly, like, the safe technology, I guess, is the way to look at it.
And the list, I know we have David Katz in the house now. The new study is naming Paris as the most luxurious place to live in the world. The study was done by an online crypto casino called JB, shared with Travel and Leisure. The City of Lights, home to more than 800 fine dining restaurants, 140 five-star hotels per every 38 square miles, more than 150 luxury stores, 38 per square mile per 38 square miles, and 7,300 millionaires per 100,000 residents. It's followed by the Australian city of Melbourne in the listing. They are the only two locations with more than 100 luxury hotels per capita. So, you know, if you're looking to spend all your big bucks, apparently that's where you go.
Yeah. Well, I've had coffee on the Champs-Elysees. I don't mind telling you.
Thank you.
And as I always say, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to parade it around like I'm some big bourgeois prince. I sat there in my civilian wear. I was probably looking like a tourist to many. I tried to blend in as best I could. But as I sat there on the Champs-Elysees and I drank my overpriced coffee, by the way, I always say you're not paying for the coffee. You're paying for drinking it on the Champs-Elysees. I noted that the coffee that I was drinking was not Coachella Valley coffee, and it does not even hold a candle to how good Coachella Valley coffee is.
What?
I know that they could charge so much on the Parisian world of the best of the best. Could somehow charge me best of the best pricing, but not have the best of the best coffee. The best of the best coffee is...
Why are you yelling?
CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. That's
Thank you.
My favorite. It continues to be, for me, the sine qua non. Do you know what I mean when I say sine qua non, Albert? Do you know what that phrase means?
No clue.
Best of the best.
Yes.
Top of the hat. Top of the stack.
Apex. The very top. When it comes to coffee, I do recommend it. You can tell, based on my tone, that I am cranked up on a couple of cups of coffee already today. The holiday blend is a terrific way to get things going. Go for the holiday blend. This is the holiday blend I'm drinking today. Also, I might want to add, they have a holiday package. And I'll bet, I don't know, but I'll bet if like you were to order it right now, today, it might get there before Christmas.
They're super fast shippers, so
yeah.
I would think that it would, yeah.
Now, I know what you're saying. Holiday gifts, like, gosh, it's $40, whatever. But you get 10% off, and you get all that stuff in that gift set. I mean, I think this is a really good value. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Use our 10% discount, though, as I say, Mark T at checkout for 10% off. Mark T is your discount code at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show. The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
I don't know. I'm very excited about the holidays, Albert. Are we doing anything special at the Mark Thompson Show for the holidays, Albert?
Hopefully not yell at each other.
We're not going to yell at each other? Okay. Kim, do you have anything special planned?
I don't know why that's fun. I mean, the holiday party doesn't go anywhere without a little yelling. I think we should do it.
Kim is committed to a little yelling on our holiday.
Why are you yelling?
I think we should do a secret Santa exchange. Don't you think?
Why don't we do that, Albert?
Yeah.
I don't.
I think we're at an odd number, so that might be a little tough.
Oh, yeah.
Saudi Arabia pays cash.
Yeah, maybe some
we
Saudi
have Tony,
cash.
so maybe we'll be even, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Well, I'm excited for whatever the holiday plan might be. I'm sure that Albert and Kim have gotten me something special, but I'm not. Look, I leave it to you guys. I know every day is special enough around here, so maybe that's just the gift that we keep on going. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This man is, to me, and to many, you only need to see all of the different places that he shows up as a legal analyst, one of the most coveted legal minds and one of the most coveted legal analysts in the English-speaking world. You can hear him on BBC. You can hear him on Radio 1 in London. You can see him on Fox 5 in New York and on News Nation with Chris Cuomo, with Trey Gowdy over there on Fox News Channel on the weekends. He's the brilliant former federal prosecutor, now defense attorney, David Katz, everyone.
Great to be with you guys.
So good always to see you, David Katz. We have a lot to get into, and I want to know your take on those things that Donald Trump can do through executive action, through the power of the presidency, and those things that you find as you look at this year, here we are toward the end of the year, that are clearly out of bounds for Donald Trump. That is to say, these things that he's legally bound to seek some kind of approval on. I'll tell you what, before I let you speak, let me just say, I'll tell you what kind of reminded me to ask you this question. When he declared last night that he was going to be issuing these checks to all the military, the checks for $1,776, I thought, I mean, it's a great thing and it's a great pronouncement. It's very Trumpian. But can he just do that out of personal fiat? Doesn't he need some sort of congressional approval to start doling out money regardless of where that money is going?
Well, Mark, a lot of times you have to analyze the particular statute. I mean, overall, we have a separation of powers, and it's only the Congress that spends money. But once they allocate an amount of money, they can leave it kind of loosey-goosey where some of it goes. And in that space, Trump and his agencies have a lot of discretion. So if there's really no authority in any statute for what he's spending or doing, that's where he has to stop. Now, sometimes there's a conditioned precedent, like with the tariffs. There has to be a true economic emergency. And so I think that's when the courts come in and say, look, there's a separation of powers. There's also the court's role, which is to interpret statutes and orders and to define terms. And if there's not truly an emergency, that's what courts do. That's why we have a judicial system. If they had to always accept the president's word or Congress's word that something is within a definition and it's not, then we really we'd have an authoritarian government. Whatever the president said would go because it would always be the president's definition. That's why I'm reasonably hopeful that the tariffs case is going to go badly for Trump. It's going to go well for the American consumers, and the U.S. Supreme Court is going to overturn his tariff orders, his tariff executive orders, Trump's, because there is no true emergency. We have fentanyl and other drugs coming in. We've had that for decades. We have a trade imbalance. We've also had that for decades. There's no true emergency. So, this California ruling was very important. I don't know if people have paid attention to it, but, Trump sent troops into L.A. and he federalized the National Guard. And, we got a lot of attention on the preliminary orders in the case. There was an order he had to stop. There was an order from, I think it was 2 Trumpy judges on the Ninth Circuit, 2-1, that said that he didn't have to stop. But then it went back for trial. And then the judge who tried the case said, no, when you look at all the facts, my ruling is that the troops and the federalized National Guard have to leave L.A. And so there was a lot of hump to dump and all that kind of stuff, a lot of hump. What do they call it? There was a lot of, saying no, naysaying by Trump and, attacking the courts by his spokesperson. But then in the dead of night, they left L.A. the other night. And that's the end of it. The federal judge heard the case, heard the facts and the law, decided that what Trump was doing was illegal. And he claimed all kinds of powers, Mark, that he could do those things. And guess what? He couldn't do those things. We have a posse comitatus that says that you can't send troops to do domestic law enforcement work. And we have rules that there's a National Guard, which generally speaking is captained by the governor and cannot be federalized. And so when that all came out, I think it was a reason for my optimism. And I think in general, the courts have been holding pretty firm. Now, has Trump and some of his minions tried to get around it and play games and do things and risk contempt? Yes, but I think generally the courts are holding firm.
Yeah, you have great optimism that you've expressed repeatedly in the courts to sort of right the ship or get us back to magnetic north. But it's interesting, even within the courts, I saw something related to immigration, that the Trump administration is trying to reopen a bunch of immigration cases. And this is an interesting thing. Apparently, I mean, you know this stuff, but I was sort of unaware of the way in which this works. The immigration system, if you will, and there's certainly problems with it, allow for a case to sort of be parked for a while. I mean, thousands of cases to sort of be parked. It's a way that you can clear your docket, I guess, if you're a judge, from a lot of stuff that is sort of run-of-the-mill immigration stuff. This isn't a situation where anybody's accused of anything criminal. It's and so you end up with, and particularly now, tens of thousands of cases of people who are in the immigration system, are here without documentation, and instead of a judge adjudicating it, he kind of parks it, or she parks it on a back burner, and the case isn't closed, but it's not really open anymore. This is sort of this limbo. And I guess that's the way, again, that you handle this overstuffed pipeline of legal cases. So now the Trump administration says, no. We want all of those thousands of cases that have been parked. We want them reopened, and we want those people deported.
Well, Mark, I'm a practicing lawyer, mainly in federal criminal, and I had one of these cases where somebody who could afford me was a deported alien found in the United States. And there's only two defenses. One is you're not found here. And when you've come back for your daughter's quinceañera and you're nabbed there, right there at the party in the United States, pretty hard to argue that you weren't found in the United States. So the only other defense is that you weren't legally deported. I ended up winning that case, but I had to wade into immigration law. And it's not the first choice of the people graduating at the top of their class coming out of law school, but it's a wonderful thing to do now because of all the hardships that people in this country are enduring. And I take my hat off to all the people who do this work day in and day out. But the point I'm trying to make is it's very complicated. There's a lot of statutes involved. They intersect for very little money in some of these cases. You hear the ads on the radio and all over the place. It's a volume practice. And there are millions, with an M, millions of cases in the immigration court. So if you're one of these immigration judges sitting on these cases, the last few decades, you've got, cases, lots of cases by the hour, 24/7, case after case. So Mark, if somebody comes to court and says, my client is trying to normalize his or her status, they've got a relative here, and the relative is asking that they change their status. It's the petition of the relative, and here we are. I have this client in court, but they have a relative who's asking for such and such. And if that makes sense, judges say, okay, we're going to delay or stay your case on to the next one. And they dive into these myriad cases that they have. Well, that has stacked up to the point that there are now millions of people in this country who have cases that have been stayed by an immigration judge. Some of them going back 5 years, 10 years, the people who say this is just another way that the immigration system gets played for delay, and that people who come here are supposed to have a timetable, and the timetable is so flexible it ends up being a mirage. That's what the claim. But you can see why day to day you end up now with these millions of cases, and they tend to not be reopened, and nobody much knows about them anymore. After 6 or 7 years, they need a new lawyer. Somebody needs to go find the record. Where is the record? Who knows what's going on in this case? Well, one of the ways that Steve Miller and this new regime have been very aggressive is to go back and ask to reopen those cases. And there was a statistical graph that I saw that just a handful of those cases were reopened under, you name it, George W. Bush, even over Trump the first time, under Obama. But now that's a new thing. And so now they're being opened by the tens of thousands, reopened. And of course, they're having a lot of, to some extent, that's making the courts go even slower because somebody says, well, they need a new lawyer for this case. We need to go find these old records. But I think, if they keep doing this for 4 years, it will get a lot of cases moving and will get a lot of people deported. And, this is deportation. This is the idea of deport. The irony is that Obama was called the deporter in chief as an insult from the left. But people should remember that Obama was in good faith trying to get a comprehensive immigration deal. The Republicans never came around, even though Obama acted as, quote, the deporter in chief. Now the goal is not apparently to get an immigration deal. The goal is simply to deport. It's this sort of nativist deport. That's
right.
all that's going on.
Let me just a quick follow up on these tens of thousands of cases that are again have been parked or sort of, that are neither open or closed. Is implicit in that when they park those cases that there was no real wrongdoing here? It's just that this person was undocumented. I mean, that is to say, if there was someone who was in this system who, excuse me, was really, it suggested, or the preponderance of evidence or even sufficient evidence would suggest that there was real criminal activity here, that person would be less likely to have that case parked than the rest of these thousands of people who had their cases parked.
they're just people going through the system, all the kinds of things that come up. I mean, it's mind-numbing if I started to mention the kinds of immigration problems. Just think about this: people who are legally here, who have a spouse or significant other who's not, and they get married, they get divorced, and you can name 100 different kinds of immigration situations that come up. Someone's overstayed their visa, but they're allowed to. They left and they come back. When did they leave?
Right. It's this kind of thing. It's overstaying your visa. I get it. Okay.
Right. It's all that kind of going. But now they've looked at the statistics. This is very interesting because the propaganda from Trump when he was running was that I'm going to deport the bad ones. I'm going to get the criminals, the criminals out of America. Of course, that's not what's happened. More than half the people who've been rounded up and held in deportation facilities are not committing any crimes. They have not committed any crimes. They've never been charged with any crimes. And they've done statistics on the people who, as I say, are in custody right now, deportation custody, and less than half of them have ever had a criminal case.
Oh, it's an abomination. It's an absolute abomination.
I'm sorry, more than half of them. I'm sorry, more than, I know it's over 50%.
No, it's 63% is this figure I think I remember from just a couple of days ago. Yeah, I mean, it's
no criminality.
No criminality. Imagine
no criminality.
This is a crew that says we're going to get the murderers, we're going to get the, it's again, it's utter BS. This is the great American BS machine on blast from this administration. It is disinformation, and it's offensive because these are people who are being scooped up in the most brutal, thuggish manner as they go into various neighborhoods and they terrorize these communities and they deport and detain people who are productive members of this community. These are not murderers. These are not people with criminal histories. These are people who actually are a key part of the tapestry of America. It's offensive. So, and it will have real economic and societal effects. But we're about the legal part, so let me get to another part of the law. The Donald Trump jihad, I'll just say, or crusade that has continued against his political enemies or perceived political enemies might have crested in certain ways when it came to Jack Smith. Jack Smith was a special counsel, a former special counsel, and he was called in before a committee that was to try to, I think, you can correct me, with Jim Jordan and those like him, trying to show that this was a political witch hunt against Donald Trump, tagging him with trying to undermine the election in 2020. And Jack Smith, apparently in a closed-door hearing, said that his team found, quote, proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Donald Trump engaged in a criminal scheme to overturn the results of the 2020 election. He repeatedly tried to obstruct justice and to keep secret his retention of classified documents found during an FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. And this was all on display in these closed-door hearings. Smith said that his team turned up, quote, powerful evidence that showed Trump willfully retained highly classified documents after he left office in January 2021, storing them at his social club, including in a bathroom and a ballroom where events and gatherings took place. And again, Smith is appearing there under a subpoena from Jim Jordan, who is like the fire-breathing dragon for Trump. Speak to these revelations and this crusade against Jack Smith.
He's the guy with the rolled up sleeves. He wants to show off that, he's got pecs.
Jim Jordan, yeah.
This is the head of the committee. This was all a stunt. And of course, it's backfired on Jordan. I mean, he's just really not in the same, what would Trump say? He doesn't have a high IQ like Jack Smith. He's kind of a low IQ chairman, this Jordan guy. And I think he was hoping that either Jack Smith would take the fifth or would do something that would seem like he was evading the committee. Jack Smith was like, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. I'll answer all your questions. I'd like to do it in a public forum. Jim Jordan didn't give him a public forum because it would have been just devastating for Trump. And what did the Democratic congressman say? It would have been terrible for the president and all the president's men, harking back to that expression from Watergate. So Jack Smith basically said what we all knew, but he said it in a very, persuasive, deliberate way. He couldn't have gone in front of the grand jury on either the Mar-a-Lago case or the January 6th case had he not believed that he had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the standard for a federal prosecutor. It's not the standard to indict, but it's the standard to which federal prosecutors, as I was, hold themselves when they go before the grand jury, that they believe they have proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That obviously didn't apply to Miss Halligan, if you'll remember that one. But so he said the obvious, which was, I believed I had proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Here's all the reasons why for the Mar-a-Lago case. There was a clear obstruction of justice there. I believe that I had proof beyond a reasonable doubt to go ahead with the January 6th case. And if you ask me, would I do that again on this quantum of evidence? I absolutely would, whether the president was a Democrat or a Republican. And so we're hoping to get the transcript to see what was actually said. But again, it totally undercut the Republicans, crusade, use your word again, that there was something wrong, there was something untoward. By now it's becoming sort of ancient history because Trump ended up winning the election. But those cases were both very strong. I believe they both would have resulted in conviction. Trump's hand-picked federal judge down there, we called her Loose Cannon, when she was still, I think, dreaming of going to the U.S. Supreme Court. She'll never go now. She'll be sitting there in Florida dealing with boring federal cases long after Trump is gone, and she won't, I think, ever be advanced on the bench. But you remember those days, she actually threw out the Mar-a-Lago case, and then before the Court of Appeals could have reinstated it, which they absolutely would have done, he became president. And then there was the whole issue of you can't prosecute a sitting president, according to that famous DOJ memo, which I don't believe is really the law. Ken Starr didn't believe that it was the law when he was the independent counsel. And then, of course, what happened with the case in the January 6th case, which ended up going to the U.S. Supreme Court and ended up in the presidential immunity abomination. But basically, Trump ran out the clock on two cases that were, in my opinion, absolutely righteous under the facts and the law, and a jury would have convicted in both of them.
Yeah, it's interesting. We agree on this, to me, documents case that was so damning, easy to understand, too. I thought it was both legally damning and also politically damning. Meaning, there's just no way you need to know any complexities at all. The guy's taking classified top secret documents and stuffing them in bathrooms and ballrooms. It's just utterly absurd. It's typical Trump. And the fact that, this guy was given a pass on this, crazy. But had that case been tried in Washington, it would have been a different deal.
Mark, one thing, they had huge markings on them, gold and red, that said they were highly classified. They were, as you say, just bandied all about in the ballroom, the bathroom, all kinds of other places. There was actually real danger to national security, not just from Trump keeping them, but also the fact that Mar-a-Lago was not nearly as protected as it should have been, given that those highly classified documents, some of them were about war movements. Had the shoe been on the other foot, had that been a Democrat, the Republicans would still be howling to this day and every day about what a breach of national security that was. And then, of course, it was more than just the icing on the cake. It became a huge part of the cake that Trump said they weren't there. He played a shell game so that his lawyer would say that they weren't there. They found that was the crime fraud exception. They called his own lawyer into the grand jury, as they're entitled to do, because you can't commit a crime or a fraud with a lawyer any more than you can commit one with someone who doesn't have a bar license. The lawyer had to say, because he was under oath and compelled, what actually happened. That was damning to Trump. And then when they went in there under this certifications by Trump that there were no classified documents in there, the FBI found huge troves of classified documents strewn all around. And so they had all of those facts against him. And then the judge down there got into this whole delay where they needed to get a skiff down there, and this and that needed so much ruling and so much delay. And the case just ground on. And then eventually she dismissed it. And by then the clock had run out to even go to the Court of Appeals and get a ruling because Trump got elected again. So that was some of the background of all of this. And I thought Jack Smith did just a brilliant job. And I'm looking forward to, from what the Democrats said of what happened at the closed door hearings, that transcript will have to come out. The Democrats who were there said that there was no national security information. There were no grounds to keep it under wraps. So we'll be seeing it. And it'll be like a footnote to this history of how Trump ran out the clock, had his 3 Supreme Court justices there, had 3 other Republicans. The 6 of them let Trump run out the clock, and then they issued this presidential immunity abomination that we're still seeing, Mark, the awful repercussions of. It looks like Trump is out and out selling pardons. If you have enough money, it'll be fine. Inside baseball, I'll do fine. People will still, for a few $100,000, they'll hire a good lawyer like me, a good lawyer like my firm. But people with $2 million that are thinking of hiring one of the big law firms to defend them in a federal criminal case, I have to believe that they're allocating a good part of that $2 million to figure out, who do we see in the Trump administration? Who do we buy a pardon from? And it looked like the price is about $1 million, because this lady who offered $200,000 to get a pardon for Sonny Boy, who was a big fraudster, according to the record, $200,000 was too little. She eventually gave $1 million at a party at Mar-a-Lago, and presto, bingo, her son was released from prison. And on top of that, we have this Honduran dictator who was just sprung from a 45-year prison sentence. They say we're going to make war without congressional authorization against Maduro, and yet a guy who's worse than Maduro, if you believe every calumny against Maduro, this Honduran guy was much worse, brought more drugs into the country, boasted that he was going to put cocaine up the nose of every gringo, free as a bird.
Yeah, that's incredible. It is a clear, there's cognitive dissonance, to be polite about it. Like, it just doesn't match these two things. You have this war on drugs, and then you have the greatest drug dealer, I mean, the Scarface of our time, convicted after years of investigations. And this is an investigation with this guy that transcended one administration. This wasn't just the Biden administration going after this former president of Honduras. This occurred prior to the Biden administration. I mean, even in the first Trump administration, there were Justice Department and drug enforcement agents who were dedicated to bringing this guy to justice. They did bring him to justice. They built a big case. He was tried before an American jury, sentenced to 45 years, and then he completely goes free. I mean, again, he operated the most robust pipeline of cocaine trafficking in the history of the hemisphere. This is an extraordinary thing that this guy was allowed to go free. And just because we're on this, that's the legal part of it. And as you say, it was a pay-to-play thing. It came through Roger Stone, it would appear, the request, and there was money attached to it. But my question to you is, what's the end game beyond that? Was there something beyond that, David? Can you see between the lines of this pardon that there was some way in which Trump was serving some greater goal?
Well, let me say first that if you are Trump, if you are, in my opinion, the most corrupt and by now the most unpopular president, these are all of a piece. First of all, you want to take the focus on how terrible the economy is, how badly you've done in office, how you have not delivered on your promises to the swing voters who voted for Trump. If you're worried about the Epstein file revelations, of course, the Venezuela thing is a great distraction. Wag the dog. It's another wag the dog military, escapade. And then, of course, the Honduran thing. We'll find out one of these days that somebody paid money to somebody. That Honduran guy, I just think it's going to come out. I don't have any inside information. No one's whispered in my ear. But come on, all the people who paid money for pardons, here's a guy. And that's obviously the supposition. And we're all waiting to see what's going to happen. I mean, Trump would say, if he would say anything, that they had an election going in Honduras, and that I guess this corrupt drug dealing president, money laundering president, was from that party that he was trying to encourage. So it made that party down there look not so bad. If they're, it'd be like pardoning Nixon, right? Might help the Republicans. If nothing like that really happened in America. So there's really no logic to it. The Maduro situation is very interesting. I think I spoke on your show before, but one session when you weren't here, Mark. I worked in Venezuela. I'm bilingual in English and Spanish, and I worked as a translator before I went to law school. And the best, most lucrative job I had was in then very rich Venezuela in 1977. And I worked in Caracas translating and as I say, making great money. And the irony is that South America, Central America, were full of military dictatorships. There was one in Brazil, there was one in Argentina, junta. There was the famous Pinochet, brought into power by Nixon and Kissinger down in Chile. All over, there were these repressive, authoritarian, outright military regimes, except Venezuela. Venezuela was the bright, shining light in South America, not only for its wealth, but also for its democracy. And I was there living in Caracas during that period. So it's just unbelievable. It's not all America's fault. Chavez was very popular down there, Hugo Chavez. He was like a Mussolini type figure, but he was actually popular. And then Maduro was the thug who came in after him and lost the last election spectacularly, won't give up power. He's a thug, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that we should go to war. We were supposed to be getting away from these foreign wars. That's what Trump ran on. And in addition to that, the oil down there, because of our sanctions and everything else, the oil down there has been largely interrupted. Now the country went from being rich to having something like 7 or 8 million people who fled the country. If they can get into Colombia, Colombia can't take, you were just down in Colombia, they can't take 7 or 8 million people right across the border. So a lot of them went through there. They came up through the Darien Pass. They tried to come all the way to America. And then I guess Biden gave relief to the people from Venezuela and a couple of other countries. I don't know if Trump has cut back on the Venezuelan refugee program, but he cut back on the Haitian one. He cut back on other ones from Central America. And so the calamity in all of this is that Trump may be on the verge of sending back to Maduro's repressive regime people who really do have good claims to political asylum. And it looks like Trump won't even care. He's going to say they're all a bunch of economic migrants and send them back, throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Sure. I mean, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. By the way, the ex-president, that Hernandez, the guy from Honduras that we're talking about, he is sought now by the Honduran government. They want to arrest him there. There's an arrest order that's been issued to get him back because he was like a Scarface. I mean, there are many people who have more than a little axe to grind with the ex-president of Honduras. So he got
Mark, if he doesn't go to a third country, if he stays in the United States, I don't see Trump sending him anywhere. Suddenly, he'll become a great humanitarian, a great protector of human rights. Trump will be. Oh my God, how this person would be politically tormented in Honduras. It's the same way that he would take Bolsonaro from Brazil here in a heartbeat. With Trump, I've watched foreign policy for a long time, and I've never seen such a little organizing principle to foreign policy. It's just, if you're Trump's friend, which I think a lot of times involves giving Trump money, and of course you have to give him the adulation. You look at the guy in Argentina with the adulation. You look at the guy who calls himself in Central America the world's coolest dictator with that terrible torture prison of his down there. And what do they have in common? They're not good for the world. They're not good for their own country. But they've cozied up to Trump. And I think that investigations, maybe they have to be after Trump leaves, will show so many of these people just paid off.
Speaking of what happens after Trump leaves, I really know that this is something that a lot of our listeners and viewers were curious about because I get a lot of email on this. And I wonder if you can spend just a moment on what's happening with the extrajudicial killings of these supposed alleged drug dealers. Appears that at least a couple of them are fishermen, maybe way more. The Americans taking out boat after boat after boat. The double tap strike. Now we're not going to see that video for obvious reasons. And the way in which we seem to be prosecuting a war-adjacent military move. And what happens after a Trump administration when there is a new king? Will Pete Hegseth, any others, be exposed to murder charges, or will those all be washed away by a presidential pardon? Spend a beat on that, if you would.
Well, I think that these people like Hegseth, Bondi, Kash Patel, they're counting on a presidential pardon from Trump on his way out of office. that will protect them from a lot of federal prosecutions. Now, they may have trouble going to third countries because what some of them have done seem to be clearly violations of international law, the law of war. You have two helpless survivors clutching to the side of a boat, drowning, and instead of rescuing them, you murder them. First of all, we don't have a declaration of war, but even if you did, that would be a violation of the law of war. Without our declaration of war, that could be seen as simply murder. So I think that they may have trouble traveling to other places. It may also be that the states could prosecute them. Let's assume Hegseth, I don't know what state he's from, but let's say he's from Virginia. I think the state of Virginia could prosecute him as a citizen of the state of Virginia for committing murder anywhere. I'm not sure on that, but if I were Hegseth, I wouldn't want to take my chances. But, he's in for a pound, he's in for a dollar, or whatever they say. He's in for a dime, he's in for a dollar. Hegseth, Bondi, Kash Patel. Now, as some of these, I think one of the reasons that this fellow resigned from the military could obviously be in trouble. They have up these trumped up charges or investigation of Senator Kelly. That's not a real thing. But a military investigation, a court martial, an inquiry into all of the military officials, and that might have to be after Trump, but they absolutely could do that. Just as they're trumping one up on Kelly, they could do a real one on these military officers. If you gave the order or followed the order to make a second tap to kill two surviving sailors who were just hanging there trying to be rescued, you could be in trouble under the law of war. I believe you could be prosecuted by your own state. If you were, let's say, from New York, I believe New York could prosecute you for that. So I think that they're really in a lot of trouble. And, these other countries know it. The idea that you're not on notice. We have these Five Eyes, Mark, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Great Britain, that cooperate with us on intelligence matters. They won't. They've actually stopped cooperating because they are signatories, all of those countries, to the International Criminal Court. And they could be extradited, they could be prosecuted for violating the law of war. And this is not some, you see a war movie, you see two guys are bleeding out, they're dying on the battlefield, and two soldiers come over, and if they don't save them, they're the bad guys. If they shoot them on the battlefield instead of rescuing them or taking them POW, they're the bad guys. They're usually the Nazis in the war movie. How on earth could we do something like that? And now, of course, if you follow it, they won't release the tape of it, the video of what actually happened there. Trump said he would, because Trump always says when they pressure him, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then he retracts it later on. But the fact that they won't turn over that tape, and people who've seen it have said that it's horrible, and basically, and then of course they tried to throw this admiral who just resigned or just retired. They tried to throw him under the bus, and it's a terrible situation. I can't imagine that Hegseth is long for that job, but I think he's worried about his own skin. So I think he's so worried. And of course, the military all hates him after that show that he put on. No beardos. We don't want any more beardos in the military. And then, of course, they showed J.D. Vance. I mean, they're so disconnected. They're so crazy, Mark. The only thing that kind of gets us through this, because it's awful, is the sort of parody, satire, and the hope that it has to end soon he's so unpopular. The administration's so unpopular. The Democrats if the Democrats don't blow it, there's going to be a huge blue wave in the new House.
I would say this in an encouraging way, and as you know, I don't live in the world of hopium, but I do think that the bigger issue of a rising despot, and what I think has already happened, is essentially a soft coup, but you can say that it's a porous coup, that there is still a chance for there to be an election, as you say, the midterms may be dominated by the Democrats. But the one thing that, if you look back through history, I think you'd agree, is that despots oftentimes come in on a tide of popularity that Trump never really has had. And as you speak of his popular support having eroded and him being very unpopular, and many of these policies to which you referred and others are extremely unpopular, those all undermine his ability to really entrench himself with the kind of despotism that I hear people talking about. So I would say that's one of the huge ways in which you can hang a little hope on that hook, because he's not a popular president right now, and he's losing popularity by the hour. And I think that is going to undermine his ability to really run out this authoritarian impulse that he has?
Well, he's also doddering. He's almost 80. When you look at the popular despots who come to power, many of them by a vote, Hitler, Mussolini, Hugo Chavez, even the generals, of course, they came, the junta, brings a lot of them, but they tended to be younger, more energetic people. And while Trump tries to fake it, he's got all the problems that Biden had. And the media is not slow about pointing it out. You watch like Colbert or one of these shows, just about every night they're showing him mispronouncing words, losing his train of thought, saying that, thousands of people were killed by some snake in Peru when like 10 people were. I mean, it's just over and over and over again. And this all adds up. And, being buffoon in chief is not really the image. He used to have this, whatever, it's hard to say, Mark, but I'm not a political commentator, but I've, watched the world like everyone else. He had a certain aura that he's lost. And of course, the real world, the economy's so bad, prices are up so high, unemployment now is up. And people are now getting their new Obamacare bills. And they're not just arriving for Democrats. A lot of Republicans, a lot of people who are not political, a lot of people in red states are getting these premium increases that are double and triple. And they're absolutely freaking out. 4 Republican House members have joined, right, the Democrats in a discharge petition. And they're going to pass, a reduction of the Obamacare premiums, which they're going to have to get federal funds to do. But hopefully they'll spend some of it on those subsidies and not on the windfall for the super rich and the huge corporations. And then the Senate will have to deal with it. That bill will arrive from the House approved, and the Senate will have to deal with it. And if the Senate passes it, maybe they'll go with the 2 years, maybe they'll go with a smaller amount. But I think it makes sense that the Senate would act on that House bill. They'd come to some compromise. They send it to Trump. If Trump doesn't sign that, it'll be astonishing. So he signs that, and then the Democrats with the shutdown and everything else, they did indeed highlight that issue, and they did indeed bring a lot of relief, not just to Democrats, but to swing voters, Republicans, moderates, and they'll remember that in the House race in a year.
I'm way out of time. I really didn't want to let you leave, though, without asking you about this book banning move. The Supreme Court just said, no, we won't hear a case involving book banning. It's in Louisiana. And actually, I think it's more than Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas. They're all involved in.
It's the Fifth Circuit.
So they're just in summary, and maybe you can fill in a couple of the blanks again. We're kind of out of time, but the government is able to now remove materials from libraries that they consider offensive or in any way not fit for public consumption. So they go to this appeals. They take it to the courts, and this appeals to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says we're not going to touch it. We're not going to hear this. Meaning, it allows these governments to do this. Is this where we are now?
Well, the country has 12 or 13 federal circuits geographically. The most conservative is the one in the Fifth Circuit, which is Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. And they decided that this book ban was permissible in the states that they cover. And then the U.S. Supreme Court had to decide whether they were going to take it. I'm not that pessimistic. The U.S. Supreme Court does have a lot of discretion what cases it takes. It's got a lot of very important cases. So yes, those books are going to be banned. You're not going to find them in the library in those 3 states. And hopefully it won't be the decision of any other circuit courts around the country, because they don't have such diehard right wingers as ideologically motivated appellate judges in the other circuits around the country as they do in the Fifth Circuit down there in the Texas area. And they're going to ban a lot of books. And it's unbelievable. In America today, you think, oh, my God, they're banning books all over. Some of them, of course, are the gender issue. But I think it goes beyond that. And it's just, they ban these books. Can't read them at the library.
I mean, it's this isn't to protect children or something. A lot of this is,
Right,
this is basic education. These materials are being excised from the libraries. I am sorry that we're out of time, David Katz. I so enjoy our conversations, and we'll look for you all over. You're everywhere, man. I don't know how you have time to actually have a practice going, because you're on News Nation and all these other outposts, these media outposts.
Mark, I'm going to a federal criminal sentencing this very afternoon. If they had put I couldn't have done your show, except it's at 3:30 today. I want all of you to wish me luck. I hope that my client there gets a break. And yes, I'm a busy working lawyer, but I love to take an interest in this, and I try and juggle my schedule. The next 2 Thursdays, I think, are Christmas and New Year's. So, Mark, hopefully we can do a show somewhere in there that's not on Thursday or
we'll figure it out.
I don't want to be without you for 3 weeks.
I know I wouldn't be comfortable with that either. And I saw that while I was away, you and Mo Kelly were like showing off your Spanish. It was crazy.
What?
Yeah,
well,
I know both these guys.
You have beautiful pronunciation, Mark, and Kim pointed out that you speak it so well phonetically that people think that you're a native speaker, and they just start You always want to say to people, despacio, más lento.
I always say, puedo entender, pero no entiendo nada.
Speak more slowly, but people don't want to speak slowly. They want to speak their language at the pace they want to speak it, Mark.
Yes, no, exactly right. So I have to get up to speed. David Katz, thank you. Appreciate you, my friend.
Great being with you. Take care.
David Katz, everyone. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Who's Mark Thompson?
This is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Can you let him finish, sir?
Right on, everyone. Big show is wrapping up. I wish I had more time. I have a very sick cat that I have to attend to. He is my darling Charlie, and he needs a vet. So we have the vet here at the house, which is really special.
Wow.
And I have to wrap things up. What was that? I want to get that. That was a pretty substantial super chat. Happy birthday from your other unfortunate 1226er. Cheers, my friend, from Northern Tier and Northern Tier FPV. I have to say, and that's a $26 super chat, we suffer together with our birthdays on the 26th.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to you, and happy birthday. I'll think of you, Northern Tier, and happy birthday to us. It's not Kim's fault. She defaults to it. It's Joe Biden's fault. It's Joe Biden's fault, says Jim Slayton. I don't get it. It's not. What? Do you understand that?
No, but it's catchy.
It's not Kim's fault. She defaults to it. It's Joe Biden's fault. Default to it. Oh, I think that's because I blame you. Is that from?
I blame you.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. Guys, this is also getting too sophisticated for me even to follow sometime. From Louise, coming soon, the demolition of the Lincoln Memorial. What did Lincoln do anyway? To be replaced by a golden statue of Trump. Oh, my God. How exciting. Wow.
You know
Big
what?
shout out.
It wouldn't even be surprising.
No,
it wouldn't even.
It would not. Hit the like button, everybody. Yeah. What's the sizzle reminds you? Hit that like button.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Do it with your iron. And I like Flower Time. I like Flower Time with a $50 super sticker. Wow, I like Flower Time, and now I like Flower Time.
Thank you.
After the $50, I'm not going to cry.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
I am very taken by I like Flower Time. Thank you, I like Flower Time. Vilma says prescription drugs are down 600% per Trump. I'm going to the pharmacy to collect my $500 for the refill of my prescription. Exactly. Yeah, there's big money waiting for you at the pharmacy, apparently. Calgon, take me away, says Richard Delamater. That's an old reference to an old... Remember that, Kim? Or is that before your time?
Calgon, take me away.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have books in Louisiana and Mississippi. What? Luis is surprised with the bookman in Louisiana and Mississippi that there are even books to ban. What are those books? Who authored those books? The State Surgeon General, Dr. Seuss. I get it. That was a bust on Mississippi and Louisiana. We have viewers in Mississippi and Louisiana, so they're not everybody in the Mississippi and Louisiana is like some backwoods hick. Just so you know. Yeah. Tomorrow, Kim. It's a Friday.
Yes, it is. It is a Friday with Mo Kelly, Michael Schur, Michael Snyder, Friday Fabulous Florida. Gonna kick ass.
We will go over more of the Trump remarks and some of the Trump policies that have come to light this week. We'll do that with Mo Kelly, and we'll do it with Michael Schur tomorrow. The wonderful Michael Snyder joins us tomorrow. The Culture Blaster brings a blast of what to see as we move into the holiday season. Thank you all for your support of the show. Please consider being a Patreon or PayPal supporter. If you are interested in that, there are links to both under this video, under all our videos. You can just click and you can get to Patreon and PayPal. They are the life's blood of this show. But thank you all for super stickers and super chats. Tomorrow, a big show after a big week, and I look forward to it.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
We are saying goodbye.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Out of time. Bye-bye.